morning. I have gotten kind of a late start this morning. Actually, a really late start this morning, but took some extra time on my devotions this morning. And so just getting on here to share with you a little bit about the Proverbs 31 woman again today. So I will reshare last week's verse 10, part 1. This will be part 2. And we're going to be looking at, or I've been looking at verse 11. And verse 11 is, the heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. This verse has an especially deep meaning to me because, to be quite honest, at one point in my life, my husband and I had the conversation, and he told me he did not trust me. To be honest, I don't really remember the conversation leading up to it. So I don't remember the conversation leading up to his admission of this. And please don't think ill of my husband. I am the one who broke his trust. It's a long story, something I do not want to get into today, but my point is, I know the feeling of realizing your husband doesn't trust you. And this verse came to me at the time, and I knew in that moment, like, this was my goal. In fact, I wrote it in several different places, different journals, different studies that I've done, that this was my goal, to know that my husband trusted me again. And the way I broke his trust, or one of the ways that I broke his trust, was in talking bad about him to other people. And I am horribly ashamed to admit that I did that, but it's the truth, and that's where I was at the time. But I do remember realizing that's the danger in venting. A qualified counselor, a pastor, there are people who you can absolutely vent to, but you have to do it carefully, prayerfully, and my suggestion is to first vent to the Lord. He's the best listener. He is not going to develop hard feelings towards your husband, and in fact, he might actually help you change your feelings about the situation. So first and foremost, ladies, I want to encourage you, if you need that feeling of venting, cry out to the Lord. He has taken control of so many situations and turned them around for me whenever I learned to vent to him. Trust me, even though he knows everything about you, he wants you to come to him with all of your emotions, even when it's anger, because he created you. Not only did he create you, but he knew you would have these feelings. He knew that you would express these feelings from time to time, and that's why he promised to be there for you in those times. So right away, once my husband admitted this, I did a complete 180, and I knew I had to change. I knew I had to work, and it took years. It was not something that happened overnight. It took years to regain that trust. Another way that I lost his trust is within our finances. I'm a spender by nature. Even though I was raised in a home that was very frugal, for some reason, that gene missed me. I have a tendency to spend. I will do really good for a while, and then something just comes over me and I have to spend. And it's something, again, that I have turned over to the Lord. I'm still turning over to the Lord. It's something I'm still working on daily. But I am slowly regaining my husband's trust in that area as well. There are so many other areas where we can break a person's trust, especially our husbands, and it's scary. It comes from a place of hurt. It usually comes from a place of brokenness. And so like I said, first and foremost, I encourage you to go to the Lord with these emotions, with these feelings. Let him be there for you. Let him be your strength. Let him be your confidant. He wants to be all of those things for you. So just really quick, the word trust, I looked it up. By the way, I do use a King James Version Schofield Bible. I just like the study notes and everything that's within it. And it had a footnote to read the definition of trust in Psalms 2, verse 12. So of course I went there, and the footnote was very enlightening to me. It says, trust is the characteristic Old Testament word for the New Testament, faith and believe. It occurs 152 times in the Old Testament, and it is the rendering of Hebrew words signifying to take refuge, to lean on, to roll on, to stay upon. So it was a much deeper meaning than just as trust as in keeping my secrets, keeping his secrets. There was so much more to it than that. And it just resonated with me in a totally different way this morning. And so my goal for today is I intend to have a much deeper conversation with my husband, and I want to identify the weaknesses where he may not have a complete trust in me. So I think I was saying it is my intention to have a conversation with my husband and identify my weaknesses. What do I need to work on this week? What do I need to, not just this week, but continue to work on? And how can I be a better helpmeet in this way? The amplified version of the scripture says, the heart of her husband trusts in her confidently and relies on and believes in her securely so that he has no lack of honest gain or need of dishonest spoil. I've always thought of spoil in the terms of food. And I think that maybe where a lot of us go, maybe I'm the only one, but spoil to me, it heavily references food. But looking up the definition of spoil, I can see that it can mean so much more than just food. It can refer to finances. It can refer to just even things within our homes that we don't take care of. So even things like clothing, things like, I thought of my bedding, things of such carnal natures, and yet at the same time, that's my job. That's what I do every day is I take care of our home. I try to make things last the best that they can. Whether it's food, whether it's our clothing, whatever it may be, it is my goal that I don't just waste those items, that I put them to good use. I choose items of good quality. I think we maybe talked about this before. I can't remember if I did or not. Sorry. But making every dollar count in ways that will best benefit my family. So, like I said, whether it's clothing or food, whether it's furniture, whatever the case may be, how can I find good quality items at a good price that will benefit my family the best. So I really hope there are others who are joining me in this study, or maybe you've recently done a study. Maybe you can share some of the things that you know about this verse, what it means to you. I would be happy to share them with others. Unless you want it to be private, please specify if you prefer that it's private. Because I would like to know. This is one of those ways that even though I think I have it figured out, every day I realize I'm still learning. I'm still learning so much, still learning how to be that Proverbs 31 woman. And no, I'll never be perfect. None of us will, not in this life. But I can definitely try. I can definitely look for ways to improve. And I think that's something that I have to work on a daily basis. And I want to encourage you to do the same. Another thing that came to me is, talk to your husband. Find out if there's ways that he doesn't trust you. It's a hard conversation, but I promise you it's worth it. If you guys can both lay aside your defenses and just become really open and vulnerable to one another, it's hard. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be painless. But if you can be open and honest with one another and have a Christ-centered conversation about it, obviously pray about it first before you open that door, because it can really hurt to find out that your spouse does not trust you in certain areas. But if it helps you grow, if it helps you to obtain closer relationship with one another, trust me, it's worth it. And don't be like me. Don't wait years. Don't wait years to have that conversation with your spouse, because as hard as it's been, it's been so worth it. It's been worth every day, every step of the way. And I want to encourage you to know that joy as well.